Hi, it's Candace, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how we assess Kirkpatrick's Level 2 learning. So the first question is, what is learning? In the Kirkpatrick world, learning is defined as the knowledge and skills that increase as a immediate result of the training. It is meant to be measured at the end of the workshop right away. This is a distinguishing feature from Level 3 behavior, which is best measured sometime after the training. The assessment indicator we use for Level 2 is tied into your student learning outcomes. Do not worry about measuring all the student learning outcomes of your lesson plan. In our case here at Radford, we often have 3 or 4 or 5 learning outcomes for a workshop, and we usually try to measure 2 of them. But with Level 2, we want to make sure that the student learning outcomes that we choose are measurable and capturable. So let's see what this looks like. I have here 3 different learning outcomes about students that could be measured at the end or within a one shot. So one of them is about students will be able to generate at least 5 keywords that are relevant to their research questions. So I could see having students using some kind of mind mapping online tool to create keywords and compare it to their research questions. Then I could bring that back to my office, and then I could score whether they have succeeded at that particular outcome. Students will be able to deal with complex research by breaking questions into simple ones. And I could give students a complex question in their worksheet. They could identify simpler questions, and then I could collect the worksheets, bring them back, and score them. For the third one, I could give students a sample website, and then they would fill out a worksheet or a brief reflection about why the source is authoritative. Once again, I would collect it and then bring it back to my office so that I could score it later. And the things that you can assess at Level 2 are those that are more affective or really big picture. So the first one, these 3 I pulled from the framework. The first one has to do with about maintaining an open mind. The next one is about using many different research methods. And the third one is about how students see themselves as contributors to scholarship. These would be very hard to do within the context of a 15-minute session. They're more about reflections and much more about inner life, and they would take more time. So those would be ones that you would probably have to do farther out from the training or tie into an assignment, so maybe better at Level 3. Some of the more common methods used to measure Level 2 are online quizzes, worksheets, and pre and post tests. Online quizzes, you can use things like Kahoot or Poll Everywhere or Clickers, anything like that where you might put up on the screen if this is your research question, which of these A, B, and C would be your best search terms? And you'd have students vote using their clicker or cell phone, and then you would see if the answer is right. That could be a way, if that's if you wanted to see can students pick, students can pick keywords from a research question, that would be one way to measure whether they've gotten it or not. We use worksheets a lot where we have students do exercises and write the answers down. We pick them up, we bring them back to our office and score them later. That's been very effective. Pre and post tests are tempting, especially because we would love to have a baseline of what students know. The problem is usually that with this approach is that information literacy concepts can be very complex, and to truly measure learning, you have to give the learner time to mull over and practice the concepts. So post tests may be better for a Level 3 so that they've taken some time afterwards. There are issues with that. How do you get them to take the quiz? I know why people want to do the post test right after right at the end of the workshop, but in that amount of time, you're going to have to use really multiple choice kind of questions, and they may not get at the learning that you're looking for. Some of you may have had really good experiences with pre and post tests, and I definitely invite you to share them with us, but that's just been our experience here. So a few assessment tips for measuring Level 2. One of them is you need to make sure you create an artifact somehow. So it can't just be get together with your partner and talk about moving from a complex research question into simpler research questions, because you're not going to have any data. Right? They may have a great conversation, some of them may volunteer what their answers are, but what we really want from Level 2 is to get data from as many students as possible in the class, and so you want to collect something. What can you pick up or download and look at later? If you are doing worksheets, I do recommend that you tell the students and the professor that you're going to be collecting the worksheets. That means, well, first off, sometimes the students will write a lot neater so that you can read them. It often will encourage the students to take it more seriously and encourage them to complete the whole worksheet rather than just doing exercise 1 and then kind of just following along verbally but not writing anything down. If the students really want the worksheets, that has often happened in our workshops, then what I will do is I will run back to the photocopier in our office, make copies and give the originals to the professor, or if the professor needs to run off, or if the workshop is outside the library, I will make copies and then use campus mail to return the original worksheets to the professor, who can then give them back to the students.